We have assembled a panel today to try to let you know how very real cuts in judicial funding will have a very real impact on real people. We are already at the tipping point. Budget cuts will have dramatic effects on the processing of cases in the courts and how many cases the courts will handle, whether public defenders are able to handle their cases, and how the cuts impact the ability of low-income members of our community to obtain representation by lawyers. Our panel assembled today has a wealth of experience. To my left is John Stuart. He was appointed state public defender in 1989 after 11 years as an assistant public defender in the trial courts in Minneapolis. He supervises the state system of public defense, which presently includes about 700 lawyers and support staff. In the middle of the table is Judge Johnson, Chief Judge in the 3rd District, Rice County, Minnesota. Judge Johnson has been a judge for more than 30 years. He graduated from Harvard Law School and practiced in Northfield before his appointment. At the end of the table is my friend Jerry Lane, who for 38 years, Jerry has spent his legal career making a difference in the lives of people who desperately need legal help. After serving for many years in legal services, he was made executive director of Minneapolis Legal Aid in 1981. His office is considered one of the most successful and admired legal aid offices in the country. And with that, I'd like each one of you gentlemen, starting with you, Judge Johnson, to take a couple minutes, give us your thoughts.
All right, thank you. I've been a judge for more than 30 years, as Representative Smith has mentioned, and in that time I've seen a lot of budget swings. Sometimes we've had to manage cutbacks, sometimes we've gotten some additional money to try some new initiatives. In each case, the quality and efficiency of the way the courts worked was affected. Money does make a difference in how we function. This year, however, we're facing a budget crisis that seems to me quite different. This time, I'm afraid that the budget situation might affect the basic ability of the justice system to meet its core responsibilities. As part of the budget preparation system, the governor asked us to figure out what it would be like if we had to absorb a 10% cut in the budget. When the judiciary did this task, the results were extremely grim. We're going to have to stop doing a lot of the basic parts of our job. This budget cut would come on top of 2 or 3 biennia where we've had less than full funding, and we're no longer going to be able to do things a little less well. At this time, we're going to have to choose things that we don't do at all. What would this mean to Minnesotans? It means we won't be available to decide disputed traffic tickets. It means courts will not be able to hear the quality of life crimes. If a neighborhood dispute rises to the level of harassment or petty vandalism, courts are not going to be available to step in to resolve it, whether it's a civil harassment action or a criminal charge on the vandalism. The civil remedy, a conciliation court where ordinary citizens can get a speedy, relatively cheap decision on disputes up to $7,500, will not be available. Juvenile courts will not be available to intervene in a child's life when there's issues of truancy, petty offenses, or most misdemeanor level delinquencies such as disorderly conduct, illegal consumption. We will quite simply be unable to hear cases with the low-level acts of criminality that so often affect the quality of life in neighborhoods and cities. We won't be able to intervene in the problems of relationships, problems with alcohol and petty offenses before they escalate to larger criminal problems. What else does this mean? I think it means that we might be sacrificing one of the 3 basic branches of government to the necessities of the budget process. Our judicial system has been part of what makes Minnesota a great place to live. Even with the nature of the disputes we hear, we have consistently had over 80% approval ratings and confidence ratings from litigants appearing in our courts. Cutting the budget this year is going to cause great dislocations within the court. We're going to have to lay off valued and effective employees, and we run the risk that we're going to lose the skills and dedication that made this institution what it is today. So we look at this budget year really as dealing with the basic survival of the court system as we've known it.
John Stewart, I'm going to go to you next, State Public Defender.
Thank you. Public defenders provide legal services to indigent people who are charged with crimes. And this is something that's required by the Constitution. We take cases where if you're an adult, you have the risk of being put in jail. If you're a juvenile, you have the risk of being taken out of your home. Public defenders in Minnesota have the mission of providing quality services in a cost-effective way. 97% of our budget goes to direct client services. However, last year we lost 12% of our lawyers due to budget cuts. This year, the proposed 10% cut would ultimately give us a loss of 20 to 25% more of our lawyers in all 87 counties in Minnesota. The consequences of this would be similar to what Judge Johnson says about the courts. We would lose the ability to handle out-of-custody cases without long delays. As important as many of those cases are, we would have our first priority be to represent people who are already in jail or in the juvenile detention center, already having lost their liberty. So it would represent a major breakdown in our ability to give people equal justice under law in Minnesota.
Jerry Lane, Legal Aid.
Thank you.